So, I'm assuming you clicked on this video because either A, you recently were exposed to crochet and are looking to learn a little bit more about it, or B, you've already dabbled in it, decided, yeah, this is for me, and want to learn some tips and tricks on how to build a solid foundation for your success. You clicked on the right video. Hi, my name is Destiny, and this is Iva Simply Craft, my digital diary of an aspiring fiber artist, where I'll be sharing my wins, my losses, and any information that I learn as I try and master my craft. I'm currently approaching my second year of crochet, and before you try and click off this video because you think, what information can she provide me? Hear me out. After reflecting on this past year, I realized that even though I am very happy with my growth and I'm even more excited about the opportunities to come this year, I realized there were some things that I wish I was initially informed of that would have helped alleviate some of the growing pains and even helped me in building a solid foundation and better crafting habits. So I've come up with 6 tidbits of information that I feel will be helpful in the start of your journey. So grab a whip, grab something nice and cozy, and let's get sharing. The first 3 that I want to talk about are honestly the trifecta of what's going to help you. These are the things that I'm now having to go back and implement as a base for my success. And I'm having to unlearn some habits that I kind of wish I never developed. The first one being learning more about different crochet styles. When I initially started crochet, it was way back when I was younger, and my mom taught me how to do a single crochet, which is all she knew how to do at that time, and all we ever made were blankets. Needless to say, it didn't stick at that time because all I thought crochet was making blankets. It wasn't until 2024 when I was reintroduced to the craft that I realized it had a lot more to offer. And then even then I didn't take the time to really look into it to see what type of crafting I could create and what type of craft I wanted to spend time, effort, and energy into developing. Fast forward now to 2026 and me almost approaching my second year of crocheting. I'm just now learning that crochet isn't just making blankets or isn't just making funky colored pieces or coasters. There's a lot more to crochet than you think. So I would highly recommend taking 30 minutes, an hour, just to dive really deep, and not just on YouTube, but also on Google. Get an idea of the different types of crochet styles that are out there. There's amigurumi, which is a huge thing right now, and so many people love it. And if you don't know what that is, it is the Japanese style of knitting or crocheting stuffed animals. It is honestly amazing, the different types of amigurumi you can create. I've seen people create nostalgic cartoon figures, do the traditional stuffed animals, create little life-size people where you can create cute little outfits to change them whenever you're in the mood for it, or even creating new hairstyles for them. It's an amazing craft. Now, it's not personally something I'm into, but I wouldn't have known until I looked into it. There's also mosaic crochet, which is a colorwork technique, creating intricate patterns, and it makes the most interesting eye-catching pieces you will see. Then you have something like tapestry crochet. It's a woven textile creating colorful, intricate designs or pictures. The list doesn't stop there. I mean, there's filet crochet, micro crochet, freeform crochet, Tunisian crochet, and the list again goes on and on. Taking some time out will allow you to see what this craft has to offer and will allow you to compile a list of different styles that speak to you. Then from there, once you've kind of got an idea on what crochet style you have, you move into the second part of it, fiber content. Learning something like fiber content will help with this really big problem that I realize the fiber art community has: overconsumption. When you take the time to really look into the craft and figure out which part of the craft style speaks to you, from there, you start the process of figuring out, okay, well, if I'm interested in something like amigurumi, what are the best fiber contents to invest my time and my money into for me to take the next step to test out and see if this is really a hobby I want to take on. Learning about fiber content also makes sure that you're being intentional with the craft and the project that you're planning to make. Let me explain. Learning about what type of fiber content is best for the type of project you're trying to create will prevent you from investing hours, and I do mean hours, into a project to then not get use out of it because you made it with the wrong fiber content. So many fiber artists, when they first start their journey, whether it's knit or crochet, a lot of the times they start with acrylic. Now, I have no issues with acrylic. I mean, I'm crocheting with acrylic right now, this very second. They use something like acrylic yarn to make a spring or summer wearable, and then realize afterwards that they invested this time, invested their energy for something that they're no longer going to get use out of because, well, it is way too hot in the summer for you to be wearing something that is not breathable and makes you sweat like acrylic. If you're going to use it for a wearable, you should be aware of the fact that it's not a breathable fiber. It's actually something that was initially created to be a more affordable dupe for wool. Wool is a very warming fiber and it conserves a lot of the heat to prevent you from freezing during the cooler months. However, wool has been known to be a pricier fiber. So acrylic yarn was created to be the more affordable competitor for the everyday working class citizen. So taking the time to learn about fiber content, although it may be a little tedious at times, it will give you the opportunity to really think your project through thoroughly, be intentional on what project you're trying to create, and also make sure that after it's created, you're not staring at it thinking, I wasted my time on you. Now, after you've got research down and you looked into the different crochet styles and the best fiber content for the crochet styles that you're interested in, the third thing, which is also just as important that I would advise to do, is learn about color palettes. Knowing how to put together eye-catching color combos for projects that you're working on is another really great way to ensure that you are getting appropriate usage out of your items, but it also makes sure that you feel good with whatever you finish producing. In my case, two of the biggest mistakes that I made were not learning enough about the fiber content, also taking the time to really be intentional on the type of color palette that I wanted to bring into my crafting. I didn't take the time to think, okay, well, what colors do I tend to gravitate towards? I ended up buying a lot of yarn in colors that, to be really honest, I don't ever see myself wearing. What I ended up doing is I decided to do a color seasons test, and I learned that I am a deep winter. When I looked into all the color combinations, I actually realized quite a few of the colors that were recommended based on me being a deep winter were colors that I have in my closet, and they're my favorite pieces. So spending some time to really think about what color palette really speaks to you and makes you feel good will also allow you to just push out all the noise of every content creator out there who is telling you to buy this and do this and use this because it works for them. Just because something works for one person doesn't mean that it works for everyone. For number 4, I really hope you don't glaze past it. I know a lot of people, especially depending on your age, if you happen to be younger, you might think, that's not really something I need to worry about. No, it pertains to everyone. Anyone who's interested in moving forward with this craft, taking care of yourself is really important. The way that I like to think about it is when I work out, I stretch beforehand. Why? Because I'm trying to prevent injury. During working out, in between reps, what do? I take breaks. Why? Because I'm trying to prevent injury. And then after I'm done working out, I do recovery procedures to ensure that I'm healing myself for my next session. It's the same thing when it comes to crocheting or knitting. You need to take the time to ensure that you stretch. Make sure you take plenty of breaks, and even after you're done, make sure that you are doing the proper recovery methods to ensure that you don't create any repetitive strain injuries. Once you've made that decision that this is for you, then I would say look into tools. Start with ergonomic hooks. Right now I'm crocheting with an ergonomic hook that provides me with more support while I crochet, which allows me to crochet longer without pain, helps alleviate any cramping or anything of that nature that occurs from continuous crocheting. Another thing that I would advise looking into is some compression gloves. I actually have about 6 of these. I love these. After a long day of typing all day from work and then also doing some editing, my hands, they get tired. So compression gloves are a really nice way to help provide additional support to them, but still allow me the opportunity to continue to craft. Another thing into is a lap pillow. This is actually the next thing on my list that I want to invest in. Most people think when we're crocheting, all we're doing is using our hands. You're right, that's the main point, but there are other muscles at play here. You're also using your wrist a lot. Your forearm muscles are also being engaged. Your elbows are honestly also being engaged. And then things like your neck and your shoulders and your upper back are also being utilized during and strain. I didn't realize it at first, but I ended up getting quite a lot of headaches and I couldn't figure out what was causing them. Come to realize that while I'm crocheting and I'm in my sessions, I don't realize it, but initially I start off with really good posture and I try to keep myself straight up, try to relax my shoulders, I try to keep my elbows. Normally I have pillows underneath them to support them. Over time, you start to get a little loose and lazy with your body. So I started leaning forward and slouching. My shoulders would get really tense, and because of that I ended up causing a lot of strain and tightness in my traps. I ended up getting a lot of tension headaches that would radiate through the back of my head, making it really hard for me to go through my day. But that's something you don't think when you start. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be a lot more organized and also a lot more intentional. It's really hard to do that when you have an entire corner of your room filled with all the projects that you haven't finished, staring at you with so much judgment because they're wondering, hey, when is it my turn? And all I'm doing is sitting here thinking about the new project that I want to start. So this may not be recommended often, but it's something that I truly think is important for you to consider, and that is a whip limitation. When I first started crocheting, I was so excited that I was able to create things with just something as simple as yarn and a hook. So because of that, I started watching a bunch of videos, going Pinterest crazy, and finding a bunch of different projects that I wanted to create. So then I would start one, then halfway through, like a magpie, get dazzled by something bright and shiny and new, and I would drop that whip and start another one. I didn't realize I was building a museum of unfinished projects that now I'm either going to have to force myself to frog, force myself to finish, or continue to leave them in the museum so they can stare at me and tell me how much of a failure I am. There's already enough stress when you're learning something new. Having to understand the lingo, having to understand the process, having to understand how things function, and then having to try and build your own process for things. I was watching Dana, aka Blondie Knots, the other day, and she made mention that she puts a whip limitation on herself. She's only allowed to work 3 projects at the same time. It helps you develop better crafting habits. Something like a 3-whip limitation is perfect in my opinion. But you'll at least have a different project for you to cycle through just in case you happen to get bored or frustrated with one of your previous projects. Now, I'm not saying force yourself to finish a project. No, no, no. If you're working a whip and you hate it and it's the absolute bane of your existence to try and finish, frog it. Don't finish it. Why put yourself through that? Crafting is supposed to be enjoyable. Before I go into number 6, if you've made it this far in this video, leave a comment on which of the tidbits of information were actually helpful or useful to you. And if you have any questions or you'd like me to go a little bit more into detail for something, let me know. Now, the last tidbit of information that I want to provide is make sure you enjoy the process of crocheting as much as the end result of crocheting. Nowadays, with the social media and content creators, a lot of the times we see people pumping out all these projects that they're creating, and they're doing 5 million projects at a time, and just how fast the crafting world is being portrayed as. It makes, at least me as a crafter, feel like I have to focus on how the project's going to end versus also remembering to enjoy the process. There's a lot to learn from crafting. Crafting isn't just something that provides you those feel-good dopamine hormones because you completed a project. It's also something that has a lot to teach you. It teaches you patience. It teaches you the best things in life are the things that you slow down and remember to enjoy. It teaches you to look past the fact that you might have to start over. So then when you do, because there's always going to be a point where you're going to start over, you'll be able to do it in a way that will make you even more proud of the end results. And I think that's something that's not shared enough in the crafting community. We're always so big on the, oh, let me do a quick project so I can get that dopamine hit. I get it. I do. I get that dopamine rush whenever I complete a project. As I get older and I realize my mortality, I feel like I'm starting to understand that it's not just about the end results. It's also about the journey to get there. It makes me sit here and realize that I have to learn to be present in the moment and enjoy the process of getting to the end point. It's something I learned with crocheting and crafting in general. There's beauty in slowing down. There's beauty in taking your time. And there's beauty in enjoying the moment. I think that's something that should be stressed a little bit more as we move into what seems to be a more creative and crafty future. So be patient, take your time, be kind to yourself, and enjoy the process because it's just as beautiful as the end result. Thank you guys so much. I am super excited to continue learning. I am even more excited to hear any helpful tidbits of information that you guys maybe have. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Happy crafting. Bye.